The last call I made before I died was answered by Philip, but he hung up on me. He was holding another woman, treating her like a precious jewel. That woman was already showing signs of pregnancy, and my mother-in-law was calling her baby while putting a family heirloom bracelet on her wrist. Philip looked at her with eyes full of warmth and affection. What a tender and loving scene. But fortunately, their happiness was about to be shattered. Because my death notice was about to arrive, I floated in the air, watching my body curled up on the snowy ground in the small yard, confirming one thing: I'm already dead. Perhaps my soul would linger for a few more days, I comforted myself. The phone on the ground blinked a few times. It was a call from Philip, to be exact. It was his return call. The phone kept flashing until it shut down due to low temperature protection. Philip, calling back now, is too late. I can't answer it anymore. Originally, I had planned to die quietly, but then, the snow fell too gently, and the creaking of the swing sounded too much like the times when Philip would push me high into the air as a child. I suddenly wanted to say a proper goodbye to him. He still didn't know that I had cancer, but when I called, the call was immediately hung up. I hesitated for a moment, then opened Susan's Moments. Sure enough, she had posted another video. In the villa that Philip bought for her, Philip and his mother were surrounding her, doting on her. The caption read, "Help, I'm about to be spoiled into a little fool." I put the phone down, not wanting to look at the scene of Philip loving someone else. My stomach tightened, and another wave of pain surged through me. I collapsed on the ground, vomiting blood in large gulps. The pure white snow was quickly stained red. I struggled to get up and sat back on the swing. Honestly, I was just adding to my own misery before I died. Old friends, old memories, old sights. Now he has someone new in his arms. Why would he want to see these things that have long since faded? So in the end, I didn't say goodbye to him. I looked around the yard filled with memories, ruined, desolate. Only the cold wind passed through. Grandparents were long gone, and Philip and I had moved away from here long ago, leaving it unattended, except for the swing I was sitting on. Everything else had turned into broken bricks and shattered tiles, no longer resembling its former self. The landscape was no longer the same, and neither were we. I smiled bitterly. The swing creaked back and forth, and occasionally, snow would fall from the pomegranate tree. I faintly heard my grandmother's loving voice calling, "Nana, Philip, come and eat the roasted rice cakes." On the stove, the white rice cakes were roasting, filling the air with a fragrant smell. Soft and chewy, Philip tore off a piece, blowing on it to cool it, dipping it in a bowl of sparkling white sugar, and brought it to my mouth. "Quick, eat while it's hot. It's the best when it's fresh." The rice cakes were so delicious, and I ate happily, my eyes crinkling in joy. Philip looked at me eating so happily, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction, even happier than if he had eaten it himself. He patiently tore off more pieces for me. That Philip back then was so kind. Always spoiling me. Every time he got snacks or toys from his parents, he would always bring them to me first. He would hold out the snacks with a proud look. "Nana, smile at me, and I'll give it to you." I ignored him. I knew that whether I smiled or pouted, he would still give it to me in the end. If you had told me back then that Philip would protect another woman, allowing her to slap me across the face, I would have probably called you crazy. Philip's parents were busy with work, and my parents were busy with their divorce, so we both became left-behind children, living at our grandparents' house. But with each other, we were never lonely. We would deal with the bad kids who called us wild children, do our homework together after school, and nap with our heads resting on the desk, only to be woken up one by our grandfather. One winter when I was 10, I had a high fever from chickenpox. It was the night when the village's elders had gone to the ancestral ceremony, and only Philip stayed at my house to keep me company. Despite the risk of infection, Philip braved the wind and snow to carry me on his back to the town's hospital. I was delirious from the fever, groaning in discomfort on his back. He kept soothing me. "Nana, don't be scared. We'll be at the hospital soon. After you take the medicine, you won't feel bad anymore." He was only 12 then. His young back still thin, but he carried me for miles, never letting go of my arm. The endless snow surrounded us, and I clung to his neck, listening to his voice, feeling completely at ease. "So please forgive me, no matter how much he hurt me later." I couldn't just let go of him and walk away easily. Days passed, and my body still lay silently in the snow. I worried, thinking that if anyone saw me, it would definitely scare them. Sigh. I thought death would mean an end to everything, but I never expected I would still have to worry about my own afterlife. I decided to find Philip, to see if I could inform him of my death in a dream. Maybe after the funeral, my soul could finally disappear. There was nothing else I could do, and he was the only one left. At least his name was still on the marriage certificate with mine. Asking Philip's lawyer to handle my body wouldn't be too much, right? Before I left, I glanced at the snow again. It was here, in this very spot, that Philip confessed his love to me when we were 15, on a night of the first snow. He knocked on my window and mysteriously told me he had something to show me. Still half asleep, I put on my pajamas and went out, only to be wrapped in Philip's warm coat. Then, he gently took my hand and led me to the snow-covered yard. In the middle of the yard, there was a large heart-shaped print in the snow. Perfectly round and complete, the snow reflected the moonlight, bright and soft. At that time, Philip had already grown into a handsome young man, his face flushed. He seemed to want to say something but stopped himself. It wasn't until I pretended to go back to bed, yawning, that Philip hurriedly blurted out, "Diana, I like you." I was so spoiled by him at that time. I tilted my chin arrogantly. "You didn't have to go through all that trouble to tell me." Philip froze for a few seconds, both angry and amused, and came over to tickle me. I laughed and replied, in between giggles, "I like you too, Philip." I still remember how Philip looked at that moment. He was both happy and shy, holding my hand tightly, his eyes shining brightly, staring at me as if trying to engrave this moment in his heart. The snowflakes fell like confetti, landing on his messy hair and long eyelashes. His eyes sparkled, filled with light, and there was room only for me, for us at that time. The feeling was already understood between us, and there was no need to say it out loud. I drifted back to the house that Philip and I once shared, but to my surprise, Susan was there too. Philip seemed a bit irritated, pacing around the room before finally stopping at the balcony, lighting a cigarette. The flickering smoke obscured his expression, and I couldn't make out his face. This was Susan's first time in our house, and she curiously rummaged through the photographs on the wall, the coasters on the dining table, and the blanket on the sofa. She pulled a white disc from the fridge and playfully poked it. "Is this plastic? It's so hard. Why is it in the fridge? That's weird," she said with a grin. Philip turned back. "That's glutinous rice cake. You need to bake it, then it'll get soft." Wait, but it was too late. Susan had already tossed it into the trash. The sound of it hitting the bin was like a sharp thud. I clenched my fists. Had I known that Susan would waltz into my house and go through my things after I died, I would have set it all on fire before leaving. Susan stuck her tongue out apologetically. "Oops, I was too quick. Philip, don't be mad, okay?" Philip looked at the rice cake lying in the trash for a moment, then shrugged. "It's fine, it wasn't worth much. When Nana comes back, she can buy more herself." Susan's innocent eyes, her soft, coaxing voice, and her act of clinging to Philip's arm always made it hard for anyone to stay angry with her. The last time I heard her act this way, she was still calling him Mr. Philip. At that time, Philip had already become a well-known partner at a law firm, but he was always busy. I never stopped bringing him meals. One day, I brought food to him while he was in a meeting. I left after dropping off the thermos, but when I realized I had left my car keys at the office, I returned to get them. By the time I got back, the meeting had ended, and I overheard a girl's voice, whiny and complaining, "Why is it always the same dishes? I'm so tired of them. Can't she change the menu?" I pushed open the door abruptly. Philip and Susan were sitting at his desk, sharing and critiquing the dinner I had carefully prepared for him. I spoke stiffly. "Philip works late, and this is a special diet I made for him. I didn't prepare any for you." Assistant Susan, "Sorry." Susan stuck out her tongue, looking pitifully at Philip. "I'm sorry, Mr. Philip, I won't be so picky anymore." Philip didn't seem to realize anything was wrong and even patted Susan's head in a teasing way. "Nana's sensible and understanding. She wouldn't care about little things like this. You're the one who's so childish." But that wasn't the case at all, in the past. Philip never asked me to be sensible. From childhood to the early stirrings of romance, from the old house to the bustling city, he always told me to live without worries, to be happy, and that he'd handle everything. That is, until I was 17. That year, Philip's family went through a crisis. His father jumped off a building due to a business failure, and his mother wept constantly. The reality of it shattered our youthful dreams. Philip had to take on multiple jobs. Weighed down by both financial and emotional burdens, it was rare for us to meet, and when we did, he looked exhausted, forcing a smile. "Nana, you need to be more independent now. I won't be around to look after you," he said. I felt so sorry for him, wanting to take care of him in return. So, I stopped asking him to do things for me. No more surprises, no more morning calls to wake me up, no more traveling far just to spend my birthday with me. I stopped asking for anything. I even took on 2 jobs to help him pay his debts. I knew he wouldn't accept it, so every month, I secretly transferred my wages and the little savings I had to his mother. I kept just enough for myself. I remember how late my shifts at the milk tea shop were, how I was followed on the way back, how I ran until I was exhausted, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't even notice that I sprained my ankle until much later. I limped for months before it healed. I never told him about any of it. But Philip still felt guilty, always apologizing, saying it wasn't fair for me to suffer with him. I told him it was okay, that life was long, and that he could make it up to me later. Philip's eyes were red as he held my hand to his heart, rubbing it gently. "Nana, please don't ever leave me. I'll always take care of you, I promise," he said, his face full of sincerity and almost obsession. I had to believe him. How could I not? He promised it would be forever, yet, within just a decade, everything changed. It was as if the world had flipped upside down. He gave all the affection and love he once reserved for me to another woman, someone younger, more playful, more carefree than I was. I should have seen it coming. He no longer called me Nana, no longer took the time to comfort me. When he praised my maturity and understanding, I could see the regret in his eyes. The carefree youth of our earlier days had faded, crushed by the weight of life. I should have known. Especially when Susan first joined the law firm, and before things had become complicated. Philip had mentioned her multiple times. "A new girl started. She's so cheeky, I don't know how to handle her," he'd said, laughing despite his words. "Nana, she reminds me of you when you were little. I can't bear to punish her." Even then, I didn't doubt him, until Susan repeatedly crossed boundaries. She called him in tears when her apartment's electricity went out. She drunkenly clung to him at a company event, forcing him to take care of her all night. At a celebration, she boldly smeared cream on his face and kissed him in front of everyone, provoking the others into cheering. I argued with Philip over her behavior countless times. I even threatened to divorce him if he didn't fire Susan. Philip massaged his temples, frustrated, his tone tinged with exasperation. "Nana, Susan is just a child. You used to be just as naive. Why can't you understand her? Firing her for this, what will she do?" His eyes were filled with deep disappointment, as though he didn't recognize me anymore. "Nana, how did you become so cruel?" Amidst the endless arguments, our relationship grew colder. I became depressed, sleepless for nights on end. Every time I wanted to leave, the image of young Philip would appear in my memory. He stood tall in the snow, his palm warm, his eyes soft and full of affection. Was he still my Philip? How could he hurt me like this? I couldn't leave him, so I began to doubt myself. Was I being paranoid? Were they truly innocent? Should I be more magnanimous? But no matter how many times we fought, Philip refused to divorce me, and I couldn't bring myself to make that decision either. We remained entangled like this. Then, this summer, I went to the hospital for my checkup results and ran into Philip as I left. The elevator was crowded. He had his arm around Susan's waist, his other hand protectively resting on her belly, careful not to let anyone brush against her. The tenderness in his gestures hurt my eyes. I stood across the crowd, clutching the cancer diagnosis and my phone, which was busy with a disconnected tone. My body trembling in the heat of the 40-degree sun, no matter how hard I tried to breathe. I couldn't stop my teeth from chattering. It was the first time I had seen them together. All the self-deception, all the hope I had been clinging to, shattered in that moment. The moment Philip saw me, all that was left on his face was panic and shock. I threw away all the understanding and patience I had built over the years, slapping the face I once loved so dearly, my tears streaming down as I questioned him. "Is this the purity you told me about?" Before he could answer, Susan rushed up and slapped me hard, leaving me stunned for a few seconds. With her petite body, she furiously shielded Philip. "How dare you hit him? When we were kids, Philip and I often fought. Everyone knew that it was fine to hit Philip. But if anyone hit me, Philip would go mad and fight back. but I had never been slapped like this before. Anger engulfed me, and before I knew it, I was already wrestling with Susan. Surrounded by people watching, Philip tried to separate us, and in the chaos, Susan fell to the ground, crying out in pain. Philip instinctively shoved me aside, then tightly protected Susan behind him. His tone was anxious. Nana, it's all my fault, but Susan is carrying my child. If you do this, you'll hurt her. Please stop, okay? My heart felt as though it had been stabbed by a sharp blade. Because of that incident, I could no longer have children. I thought that this was a scar we both shared, an unspoken pain, but it turned out, I was the only one left with it. He had his own new world. A sharp pain twisted in my stomach, my lips were cracked, and I tasted the blood in my mouth. I vaguely remembered how Philip would comfort me when I accidentally bit my tongue. The crowd was buzzing with chatter, some of them even filming us with their phones. Susan was tightly guarded, while I stood there, unprotected, surrounded by cameras and gossip. I couldn't let myself cry. I fought back the tears with all my might. Don't cry. Don't give them another reason to laugh at me. Thank God, the hospital security arrived and pulled us apart. They took me away from the most humiliating and tragic moment of my life. That evening, Philip came to find me. I locked the door and refused to open it. He sat outside. Through the door, he kept talking, regardless of whether I responded. Nana, that child was an accident. That day, I was drunk and mistook Susan for you. She looks so much like you. I couldn't help but take care of her. But I never meant to betray you. It's just, Susan is an innocent girl, carrying my child. If I don't take responsibility, how will she live? I'm sorry, Nana. After the baby is born, you can hit me or curse me. At that point, I'll give Susan some money to send her abroad. We'll just consider it as adopting a child, okay? That way, my mom won't keep pressuring you. Nana, I'll never divorce you. I'll spend my whole life making it up to you. Nana, wait for me, every day. Philip came to find me. Susan wasn't easy to deal with either, and each time, she would come along and cause a scene. Perhaps the previous conflict had left Philip uneasy, afraid that we would fight again. To ensure the safe birth of the child, he stopped coming to find me. Instead, he sent long messages every day, describing his future plans in an attempt to comfort me. I pulled all the curtains, curled up in the dark room, and self-destructively scrolled through Susan's moments on social media. Looking at her carefully crafted posts meant to show off her love with Philip, leg cramps in the middle of the night. Luckily Mr. Philip massaged my legs all night. I finally got the limited edition I've been dreaming of. Mr. Philip is the best. Some people are just full of bad luck, and then wonder why men leave them. Hilarious. Philip kept sending me messages. Nana, please wait for me. He was so laughable. He seemed to think he was just taking a brief break from me. And that I would always be waiting for him here. Waiting for what? Waiting for the child to be born, or waiting for my death. If I kept living like this, recklessly ignoring everything, my illness would worsen rapidly. I probably wouldn't even make it to the baby's first month celebration. Looking back at my life, we had so many beautiful memories, but our final meeting was him protecting another woman, and me receiving a slap in the face. These days, as I floated near Philip, unable to communicate through dreams, I saw him desperately searching for me. He became more and more anxious. Even Susan stopped accompanying him, and every day he called my number, hoping to hear the line connect. One night, Philip suddenly woke up. He murmured, Nana, Nana. She must have gone back. Without hesitation, Philip drove through the vast snowfields, along the path he once carried me down, and finally arrived at the old house at dawn. The small yard was already surrounded by people, talking loudly. Such a pity. How could she have died here alone? She was so young. She must have died painfully. With all that blood, she was even holding a phone, but we don't know who she was calling. When Philip rushed through the crowd, he only saw my body, half buried in the snow. His eyes went red in an instant, and he tried to pull me out desperately, but the crowd held him back. Hey, what are you doing? We've already called the police. The police said we must protect the scene. You can't go near. Several people held him down, not letting him move. From a few meters away, he stared at me, his voice trembling. Nana, don't scare me. What did you do? Don't scare me. Don't joke with me. How could you? The word death got stuck in his throat, and he couldn't bring himself to say it. Nana, wake up. I'll push you on the swing. Please get up. Please, get up. I floated in the air, sorrowfully watching Philip's desperate screams echo through the air. Philip. Do I really still matter to you? After the funeral, my soul remained. I saw Philip holding my ashes, refusing to listen to anyone trying to stop him, determined to freeze himself here with me. He kept murmuring, Nana, you were sick. Why didn't you tell me? You must have been in so much pain. I saw the medicine by your bedside. You hated taking medicine. I had to coax you into it. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you let me be there with you? He seemed to remember something. Clutching his hair in pain, his voice filled with endless regret. What was I doing back then? What did I do? He didn't have time to drown in his sorrow for long before the peace of the small yard was broken. The news of my death was originally just an unnoticed small story, but someone on the internet, like a detective, linked the death to an incident from months ago at the hospital, uncovering many small details. The video of Susan slapping me in the hospital was rapidly spread. Public opinion exploded. The mistress drove the wife to death. Never seen such an arrogant mistress. The wife gets slapped. And the dog of a man just defends the mistress. Disgusting. I know those two. They work in the same building as me. The girl is always fawning. I thought they were a couple, but they're the mistress, the person above. Good people get good karma. Make sure to spread the info. Susan was cyberbullied and came crying to Philip. Philip, come back with me. Let's clear this up together. The law firm is being harassed to the point where it can't even operate anymore. That's your life's work. You can't ignore it. Philip, stay with me. Philip didn't even look at her, ignoring everything she said. Maybe it was too cold in the snow. Susan couldn't hold on for long. She stomped her feet and left, crying. After she left, Philip sat in front of my urn, his voice as soothing as ever, as if comforting me. Nana, I won't accompany anyone else, only you, okay? If souls had tears, mine would have fallen then. Philip, how I wish you had said that earlier. The news that Philip's mother was in the ICU reached him. And he finally lifted his head, scruffy and disheveled, as if waking from a dream, and rushed to the hospital. In this world, she was the only family he had left. At the hospital, Susan was pacing outside the ward, holding her belly, anxious. When she saw Philip, the usually domineering woman gave him a pale smile and softly collapsed. Philip rushed to hold her, shouting for a doctor. On one side, his mother was still unconscious, and on the other, Susan was about to give birth. 3 lives hung on his hands. Philip scrambled to handle hospitalization matters, signing responsibility forms, and discussing options with the doctors. Finally, after 2 chaotic days, Susan gave birth to a son, both mother and child safe. His mother also woke up at this time. Philip finally breathed a sigh of relief. He might have forgotten, my urn was still at the old house. When he left, he had said he would return soon to be with me. As soon as Philip's mother woke up, she wanted to meet her newborn grandson. The newborn was sleeping soundly in her arms, and Philip's mother gratefully held Susan's hand. Good girl, thank you for your hard work. She then turned to Philip, her voice weak and elderly. Philip, in these past days, both I and Susan almost walked through the gates of hell. Thanks to this child, Susan has borne such great pressure and still gave birth to a golden grandson. I only came back to life after hearing my grandson's cry. She sighed. Nana was stubborn, strong-willed, and died to get back at you. Look at what she made you and Susan go through. She took Philip and Susan's hands and joined them together. Philip, after going through this trial, you should cherish the people who are still alive. You still have your mother, and Susan, you also have your son. Look at him, so cute, just like you when you were little. All 3 of them focused on the baby's face. The baby, wrapped in blankets, woke up just then. His eyes sparkling like black grapes, so cute and endearing. Philip, look, he opened his eyes. Susan excitedly shook Philip's arm. In front of him was his caring mother and his newborn son. He was so soft, so adorable, so in need of care. And then there was Susan, smiling cautiously, afraid to push him away. The morning sunlight was fresh, shining through the glass window and filling the room with a warm, golden light, as if bringing the strength of a new beginning. Philip remained silent for a long time. Finally, he sighed softly and gently stroked Susan's face. You've worked hard these past days. Susan's eyes instantly turned red, and she tightly embraced Philip, crying as if she had regained something she thought lost. Philip patted her back, his voice gentle. It's okay, Philip's mother held the newborn in her arms and looked at the reconciled couple with a smile of satisfaction. In the bright and clean hospital room, 3 generations of family were together, and a couple that had reconciled, a picture of harmony and happiness. All of this happened on the 12th day after my death. I watched in a daze as everything unfolded before me. When I gave Philip's mother the money I earned from working, she also shed tears, saying what a good child I was, how I had suffered. When I had a falling out with my parents, Philip had comforted me like this. "It's okay, Nana, I'm here." 20 years of memories flashed before me, one by one, gentle, happy, nervous, tired, those who stayed with me, those who made me laugh, those who spoiled me, those who loved me, and those who no longer loved me. All of them were Philip. Ha 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 ha. I couldn't stop laughing. So wrong, so wrong. I had been so foolish. It was only at this moment that I realized, deep in my heart, I was still holding out hope for Philip. It turned out, I had never truly believed that he didn't love me anymore. Even in death, somewhere in my heart, I was still faintly expecting that, after learning of my death, he would be filled with regret, expecting that he would truly feel my pain, expecting that he would sincerely feel guilty. In the end, I just wanted him to still love me, even if this love needed death to awaken it. So foolish, I was so foolish. Even though all the evidence that he didn't love me was right in front of me, I still turned a blind eye. Immersing myself in the remnants of a dead love, hoping to find some lingering attachment in the rotting corpse of a past love, seeking comfort from a life spent deeply in love, the dark night was over, and all the sorrow and sadness were left in the past. The sunlight generously poured over everyone, filling the world with life and vitality, full of laughter and joy. Only my pale soul, in the sunlight, was hollow and broken. After being discharged, Philip quickly married Susan, giving her and their child a legitimate status. As for the online insults, Philip calmly followed the procedures, sent warning letters, and even sued one person as an example. The other party's compensation and apology were publicly posted for half a month. Philip was a well-known lawyer in the industry, so handling such matters was second nature to him. The online outrage quickly subsided, but Susan was still unsatisfied. Her unwillingness to be wronged led her to write an emotional piece. In her dramatic narrative, she and Philip were true love, while I was only after money, and that was why I clung to Philip, because I couldn't get pregnant. Philip's mother had long hoped that Philip would divorce me and marry Susan, so she timed her appearance to do a live broadcast. My son's ex-wife was a very materialistic person. Even when we were dating in college, she often asked me for money, always greedy. The old bank transfer records were simply edited, switching the payee and payer, and presented as evidence. Such a woman, after my son saw her true nature, never liked her. She only forced my son to marry her by claiming to be pregnant. After marriage, he discovered that not only was she not pregnant, but she couldn't get pregnant at all. She sighed in a suggestive tone. They were in a long-distance relationship in college. Who knows what she was doing? At such a young age, she couldn't even get pregnant. Susan is a good girl. That day in the hospital, she was only trying to protect Philip when she slapped Diana. She bore the blame for nothing. It was a pity for her. These statements had some flaws, and a few people caught on, but with Philip's lawyer team backing them, no one was willing to step into this mess. Some others, however, believed their story. Wow. The sister is so cool. She's fiercely protecting her husband. The third party is always the one who isn't loved. Sometimes, they just met each other too late. I'm so envious. I don't know when my guy will divorce his wife, or maybe like Diana, just die. Ha ha ha. Everything happens for a reason. They'll be forever happy in the future. True love will bring eternal happiness. Blessings, forever happy. The live stream was filled with endless blessings and gifts. And I became the ex-wife who was vain, improper, malicious, and deserved to die early. After Philip found out, he was furious and stopped Susan, but he didn't clear my name. After all, they were now a family, a community of interests. If I were cleared, wouldn't that be a blatant slap in Susan's face? Dead people are less important than the living. The online backlash continued to escalate. Many mistresses became Susan's supporters, envying her success and adding fuel to the fire by spreading rumors about me, even mocking me with edited images. Hope my husband's wife will be the next Diana. Those who block true love should die like Diana. Diana is a sensible one, I hope that person will learn from her. In this absurd farce, the clear-headed ones stayed silent, while the shameless ones reveled in it. I watched coldly as more and more dirt was thrown at me. A dead person cannot speak. How could a dead person compete with the silver-tongued living? What I didn't expect was that, at this moment, a voice steadfastly defended me. Nana is a very good girl, you can't slander her like this. The voice was hoarse and sorrowful. It was my mother. I stared at her in confusion. She looked much older than the last time I saw her, with a gaunt face, but her eyes were as firm as a fighter's. After my grandparents passed away, she had come to find me, begging me to live with her, saying she was willing to make up for the years of absence, but I wouldn't forgive her for her 10 years of neglect. At that time, I had Philip. I thought I didn't need anyone else. My mother, holding a doll that I had once given her as a child and later returned, cried uncontrollably. In her words of self-blame, I finally understood her side. It turned out that when I was very young, my father had an affair. My mother couldn't bear the blow, suffered from severe depression, and couldn't control her emotions, even experiencing hallucinations. She feared that she might hurt me, so she sent me away and accepted treatment alone. She never expected that when I grew up, I wouldn't need her anymore. She also didn't expect that I would repeat her mistake and end up dead. Nana loved Philip so much. Whenever she mentioned her life, it was all about him, wholeheartedly. How could she be the kind of person you say she is? Susan is the mistress. She destroyed someone else's family and caused my daughter's death. Susan was a little flustered. She ignored Philip's warning and used every trick to deal with my mother, fearing the public opinion would turn against her. She brought up my mother's divorce and our years of not being in touch. She hasn't been in contact with me for years. Now that my daughter is dead, she comes back. It's because no one wants her, and she's trying to take advantage of her daughter's death to extort money. No wonder no one wants her. She's so evil. Old witch just wants to suck her daughter's blood. My mother, in her 60s, couldn't possibly outmatch Susan and her followers on the internet. She was powerless in defending me online, so she resorted to holding up signs at Philip's law firm, asking him to clear my name. But Susan cried and begged Philip, "Philip, now that this crazy woman is attacking me, I can't just not fight back. Can I? How will others look at me and the baby?" Looking at the little baby, Philip still compromised. He walked out tiredly, and when he saw my mother, his eyes flickered with avoidance. "Auntie, the online things will be forgotten soon, don't look at them for now." Slap. My mother slapped him, her finger trembling as she pointed at him. "What did Nana ever do to deserve this? You cheated, and she's dead, and now you're still throwing dirt on her." Philip lowered his head and only said, "Sorry, I'll compensate you with some money." Before turning and returning to the law firm, the security guard stopped my mother, letting her cries echo in front of the door. "Nana, I'm useless. I'm sorry. It's my fault I didn't teach you better. You couldn't see people clearly. See people clearly. See people clearly." I mumbled to myself, endless regret swelling in my chest. I regretted it. I should have realized earlier. If I were important, how could Philip have failed to notice my suffering over the months, leaving me to die alone in solitude? If I weren't important, how much weight would my death carry? How long could it trap Philip? I truly wanted him to suffer and regret, but this hope should never have been placed on his worthless feelings and conscience. I should have taken matters into my own hands and sent him to hell. The moment I understood, the image of the boy from my memories gradually blurred, and the bond that had trapped me all this time vanished without a trace. I shouldn't have died. They should have. At the moment of my realization, a sigh, almost as if comforting, echoed in the void. A bright light enveloped me, and my soul slowly faded. Early-stage stomach cancer. Surgery should be done as soon as possible. If the prognosis is good, chemotherapy might not be necessary. Familiar words echoed as the doctor's face gradually became clear. I looked at my surroundings, then at the report in my hands, and realized I had been reborn. Reborn to the very day I encountered Philip and Susan in the most humiliating way in my past life. Everything was still in time. I quickly made my decision. Please arrange for surgery as soon as possible. Using the best plan and medication, I will fully cooperate with the treatment. In my past life, when I learned about my condition, I was panicked and called Philip first, wanting him to accompany me in making decisions. But now I knew, he was with Susan at her pregnancy checkup and had no time for me. Leaving the diagnosis room, I went straight to the obstetrics and gynecology department. As expected, they were there. Philip was still carefully helping Susan out. Seeing this scene, which had once broken my heart, now I was calm. I took a photo of them and turned to head home. It was time for surgery. I still needed to rest well. I sent the photo to Susan. She thought I was questioning her, and in a provocative tone, she replied, "I'm carrying your husband's child. What's wrong with him accompanying me for a checkup? Who told you you can't get pregnant?" I sent her the stomach cancer test results with a message, "I'm dying soon. Philip is all yours. Take good care of him." Susan suspiciously sent a question mark back. I didn't reply. Before Susan could get too smug, how could I let her dig her own grave? I checked some information about stomach cancer surgery, then, after a few minutes, easily opened Susan's Facebook alternate account. As expected, Susan couldn't hide her joy and posted our conversation on her alternate account. Caption, "Sisters, I'm going to be the official one." The comments below were full of congratulations. In my past life, Susan used this account to write posts and show off her love, slandering me, gaining a lot of followers, and inciting them to throw dirt on me. Many mistresses called Susan teacher and asked for advice, which she was more than happy to give. Among them was a particularly special one named Molly. She was a mistress to a wealthy businessman, desperate to get pregnant and secure her position. In my past life, under Susan's encouragement, she succeeded. Unfortunately, the businessman's wife wasn't as easy to fool as I was. She was a formidable figure, and somehow made Molly disappear without a trace. In my past life, after dealing with Molly, she couldn't vent her anger and was still looking for Molly's strategist. As a fellow wronged wife, I thought that at least I should help the wife find Susan. Still, that same photo, I sent it to Philip. Philip immediately called me. I hung up, and he kept calling, so I turned off my phone. Just like in my past life, Philip hurried home, wanting to explain. This time, I didn't directly turn him away. He was anxious, saying, "Nana, let me explain, it was an accident. My mom found out and threatened to kill herself if I didn't keep Susan's baby." Same old words. He still smelled of Susan's perfume, which disgusted me. I could easily throw him out and cut him off cleanly, but that would be too easy for him. After all, I knew that before long, he would leave this marriage and start a new life with Susan, so I gently placed my hand on my abdomen, showing a look of disappointment. "Philip, if our child were still here, would you treasure it like this?" Those words triggered memories. Philip's face changed suddenly, and he didn't know how to comfort me. His eyes filled with guilt and pain. "Nana, I thought you didn't like kids." Of course, he thought that, at the time, we had just graduated, and Philip wasn't the partner at a prestigious law firm he was today. As an intern lawyer, Philip was overwhelmed by heavy paperwork and constant overtime. Every day, after work, I rushed home to make him food, barely eating myself, and then took a 1-hour subway ride to deliver his lunch. That was when the accident happened. That day, a man whose case we lost hid in the law firm, planning to take revenge on Philip. When the chair came crashing down, I instinctively threw myself onto him. The pain in my back made everything go black. I heard Philip screaming for the ambulance, his voice hoarse. I didn't regret blocking that blow, but I never expected I was pregnant at the time. The 2-month-old fetus was the most unstable, and that blow made me lose our child and left me unable to get pregnant again. When I woke up, Philip hadn't slept for 2 days. His eyes and chin were bruised. He gently touched my forehead and reassured me, repeatedly saying it was okay, that Nana was fine, and everything would get better. That night, when I woke up in the hospital, I didn't see Philip. I took a few steps outside and saw him in the hallway. His head and fist were pressed against the wall, his shoulders trembling as he wept, repeatedly shouting to the wall, "I'm sorry, Nana, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." I quietly returned to the bed. At that moment, I thought, how could Philip, who was always so anxious about even a minor injury to me, endure me getting hurt for him? So for a long time, to ease his guilt, I pretended not to care, saying I hated kids. Such a futile concern. How long could he remember? In truth, Susan wasn't particularly clever, and Philip's heart wasn't that hard to control. It was just a matter of exploiting his protectiveness, guilt, and a bit of fear of loss. After all, I had over a decade of bond with Philip, and if I used my means, I would be much more effective than Susan, but I despised doing that. I believed love should be sincere, and even using a little manipulation would taint it, so, in my past life, I only wallowed in sadness, punishing myself as if out of spite, pushing myself towards death, but Philip didn't deserve such love, he only deserved to be used. Manipulated by false feelings, made to spin in circles, I smiled, speaking in a tone of desolation. How could I not like kids? I was just afraid you'd feel guilty. I didn't expect you'd already forgotten. Every year on August 20th, only I remember to mourn. Philip didn't expect the impact that incident had on me, and the guilt in his eyes deepened. Nana, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Guilt is a good thing. Unfortunately, in my past life, when he felt guilty, I had already died. When a person dies, the overwhelming regret fades away over time, softened by the efforts of family to ease the pain. But now I'm alive, not only will I not let it fade, I'll keep piling it on. It doesn't matter, Philip, my tone was calm. Today, while you were at the maternity checkup with Susan, I was next door getting diagnosed with stomach cancer. The calm he had desperately tried to maintain shattered completely. He tightly embraced me, his voice trembling. No, Nana, I'll take you for another checkup. Whatever happens, I'll be with you, but I don't want to see you, Philip. I pushed him away, speaking quietly. Let's get a divorce. The surgery was scheduled soon, and I was actively preparing. For the past few days, Philip had been waiting outside my door, begging for another chance. He didn't act like he did in my past life, telling me to wait for him, then leaving me to suffer alone during those painful times, of course, with my weeping and heart-wrenching appearance. It was hard for him to ignore me. He thought I would always wait for him. No wonder he was so confident I'd wait for him for months. After all, how could Diana really leave Philip? He probably thought that as long as he turned back, I would always be there, waiting. But this time, it was different. I was calm, so calm that he was panic-stricken, especially now, when he was the most regretful. So no matter how cold I was toward him, he insisted on staying with me, explaining, begging me to forgive him. Nana, that day we won a big case and celebrated. I really was drunk. Susan's smile reminded me of yours. I hadn't seen you so happy in a long time, so I made a mistake. I listened to him with a blank expression and finally couldn't take it anymore. Stop insulting me, Philip. She looks like me. Have I ever intruded on someone else's relationship? Did I ever carry a love child? Would I shamelessly mock another woman for being infertile? I opened Susan's fake Facebook account and showed him the posts she had made to taunt me and her mocking words. Philip read each one, his face growing paler with every line. Finally, he left, disoriented. That night, Susan came storming to my door. Diana, what did you do? Philip's gone crazy. He wants me to abort the baby. Her voice was sharp and grating, forcing me to step back and keep my distance from her. I glanced at her, speaking in a flat tone. A love child. What makes it worthy of being born? Susan froze for a second, then angrily lunged at me. Diana, you bitch. I didn't hold back. Smack. The slap was loud and crisp. Susan's face immediately swelled, and blood marks appeared. I took a moment to examine her. Quite pleased. Not bad. Much stronger than the slap she gave me in my past life. Susan went crazy, and before she could cause more trouble, Philip rushed in and dragged her away. He didn't even look at the tears and wounds on Susan's face, just staring at me. Nana, I'm sorry, I won't let her bother you again. I coldly watched Susan being dragged away, her eyes filled with disbelief. Perhaps she couldn't understand why the Philip who had been so obedient to her just days ago, the Philip who had let her provoke and insult his first wife, suddenly wasn't under her control anymore. She thought she was powerful, that she had charm. In reality, she was simply using tactics, while I used true feelings. And now, I understood, true feelings cannot compete with tactics, so let's all treat love as an experiment, dissect and analyze it, weigh the pros and cons. Who can't learn? During the surgery, Philip insisted on accompanying me. I ignored him and let him run around, busying himself. Having someone to take care of me was good. After all, it was my own body, so why should I be stubborn? However, I still hired another caregiver, named Judy, a very enthusiastic young woman. In front of Philip, I instructed Judy, if anything goes wrong during the surgery, and the doctor asks for my opinion, tell them to do everything possible to save me. I pointed to Philip and added, I'm in the process of divorcing this man. What he says doesn't matter. Philip looked at me in disbelief, clearly hurt. Nana, do you not trust me at all? Do you think I wouldn't do everything I can to save your life? I sneered. You've cheated, and you're still talking about trust. Philip immediately lost his spirit. Judy glanced at Philip warily and nodded seriously. Don't worry, I will make sure to protect you. Philip was very attentive to my surgery, hiring the best surgeon. And the operation was a success, so I didn't need chemotherapy. With the ticking time bomb removed, I breathed a sigh of relief. After being hospitalized for more than a month, I put all my worries aside and focused solely on recuperating. When I was fully recovered, I truly felt like I had been reborn. At the same time, I received news about Susan. The bomb I had planted a month ago finally exploded. Molly, using her pregnancy as leverage, forced her way into the rich businessman's life, and after dealing with her, the wife followed the clues to find Susan. The instigator, I heard that when they arrived at her door, Susan's screams could be heard across several buildings, but the neighbors, all knowing her true character, had seen her arrogance before, so no one helped her. They only called the police. The child was lost, and Susan's face was ruined. When Philip's mother saw the scene, she fainted on the spot and has not yet regained consciousness. During the time Judy was taking care of me, she gathered all the information and shared it with me. With a look of satisfaction at having avenged me, I smiled and pinched her cheek. Go buy a cake and let's celebrate. Philip still wouldn't agree to the divorce, so I turned to his rival, Lawyer Young, and asked him to help me file for divorce. When Lawyer Young heard there was a chance to defeat Philip, his eyes lit up, full of fighting spirit. If he won this case, his reputation would soar. The evidence of Philip's affair was clear, and with all the trouble surrounding Susan, Philip was unable to fully focus on this case. It was practically a guaranteed win. When Philip saw the lawsuit, he remained silent for a long time. Nana, do we really have to go this far? I casually replied, yes, why wouldn't we? In the past, when he encountered trouble, I would encourage him and help him solve it. Now, not only did I not care, I even kicked him when he was down. Philip rubbed his forehead, his voice tired. There's no need to go through all this trouble. I'll agree to all the terms. His tone was pleading. Just, give me one more chance. Okay, I really regret it. He was filled with self-loathing. We grew up together, went through all the important moments in each other's lives. How could I have been so foolish and betrayed you? I remembered how, after my death in the previous life, Philip's brief sadness and his subsequent coldness and decisiveness, I couldn't listen anymore. Philip, spare me the hypocrisy. You disgust me. Who needed his cheap confession? Philip ended up leaving with almost nothing. The villa and gifts he had given to Susan were all reclaimed and now in my name. I drank the medicinal soup that Judy had made for me and looked out the window at the autumn scenery. It was time to let go. For the first time in many years, I called my mother. The phone was immediately answered, and I heard her excited voice. We had finally reconciled, both with ourselves and with each other. Philip didn't give up. He said he wanted to win me back and cherish me properly. That day, while I was walking, he followed me again. I had already gotten used to ignoring his presence and was talking to my mom on the phone. She mentioned the last guy she had introduced me to, saying he was very happy with me and asking what I thought. I said he was fine, very considerate, and handsome, and I was willing to give it a try. When I hung up, I saw Philip with bloodshot eyes. Nana, you can't be with someone else. Oh. Then why are you with Susan? I pointed out to Philip. Get this straight. We have no relationship anymore. Who I date or marry from now on is none of your business. Philip stuttered but couldn't say anything. Just as we were facing off, a speeding car suddenly rushed towards me. Watch out! Philip quickly pushed me aside, only to be struck himself. Blood filled my entire vision. In the driver's seat, Susan was laughing maniacally, her scarred face twisting in rage. You ruined me, you both ruined me, no one's going to have it easy, let's all die together. Susan was soon subdued. By the time Philip was rushed to the hospital, it was almost too late. In his dying moments, he grabbed my hand, wanting to tell me a secret. Nana, the day I confessed. I purposely didn't hold the umbrella. With a pale, blood-stained face, he forced a sly smile. That day it snowed, and I secretly made a wish that we would grow old together. Nana, we've at least gone white-headed together, right? I interrupted him. Just save your life. I don't want to hear anything else. His smile faded. And he softly agreed. Then he fell silent forever. This man, who once gave me the safest embrace, also completely hurt and betrayed me. My heart still ached imperceptibly. Why are people's feelings so fragile, so easy to be swayed? Must we only realize how precious something is after it's lost? As the year drew to a close and the snow began to fall, I returned to the quiet little courtyard. In my past life, I died in this winter. Across the tragic and cruel cycle of one lifetime, the snow still fell so pure and flawless. I quietly watched for a while. The snowflakes fell like a grand funeral, burying the footprints of the young man from 10 years ago. It buried the initial excitement and the most sincere love, as if this place had never known a young heart beating for someone, as if a girl had never joyfully given her heart to him, thinking that would be forever. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. If you liked our video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share our channel. See you next time.